Well, the sandworm sequence was shot over 3 months. Took 3 months to shoot, and incremental bits. 30 minutes a day here or there. And Denis, the director, told me not to reveal too many of the secrets in the kitchen, but I can tell you it was a violent rig that shook uncontrollably, and there's an industrial fan and sand blowing in the face, and lots of sand going home, a lot of sand to get out of the clothes at night. And it was as uncomfortable an experience as it looks, but
Wow.
also fun. And awful for the plumbing at the hotels because the pipes you get full of sand, clog, and just awful.
I just kept all those images in my mind constantly. I yeah, I worked on different things in the months leading up to filming. Some days I would just be looking at images of different snakes and that sort of thing, and or fight training, and then little details come to you, and it's just little by little working on his voice, working on just physically gaining weight changes how you feel in your body, and days of daydreaming what it would be like to grow up as him. And then eventually everything kind of comes together, and then you're on set and you kind of try to forget everything and just be present and you know focus on how I'm trying to affect whoever I'm with. Oh yeah, yeah. I never know. It's like your kitchen analogy. I never
Yeah,
know when I want to give things
yeah.
away. I mean, we had a wonderful hair and makeup team who were able to transform me into that every day. Yeah, I took 3 hours in the hair and makeup chair.
It's the intensity that the moment calls for, and some of it's beyond him without spoiling anything with some of these processes that change him or beyond him. But some of it is attrition of how you'd feel in such a tough circumstance, and well, the murder of your father, all sorts of stuff that's unimaginable that would push you to that edge, genuinely.
I think the preparation for that was mostly to do with all the fight training that I'd done into that, and I'd had about 6 months of working with a guy who's now a good friend of mine. His name's Duffy, and he was a Navy SEAL. So he kind of helped me get into that warrior's mindset, and he kicked my ass every day in the gym, and so by that point, then I was more comfortable with discomfort, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, perhaps all the new incredible actors that they brought in and actresses. I mean, just powerhouse performers at the top of their game that all came firing on all cylinders. So I would say that everyone's stepping each other's games up.
And I want to start with the question for both of you, and about the exciting fight at the end of the film. So how long did you prepare for the final showdown scene? And was it very stressful for you to go one-on-one with a crowd of people watching you fight?
Yeah, it was intimidating having that crowd of people and the surrounding actors, all legends. Javier Bardem, Christopher Walken, yeah, Charlotte Rampling. So that was quite intimidating. But we rehearsed a lot, months of rehearsal separately, then together. And then the week and a half we shot, just made sure to bring the intensity and the violence that was needed. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I know. I would just say, yeah, exactly what Timothy just said. We worked very hard for many months beforehand, and then we came together, and um, it brings in a certain type of intensity when you're surrounded by a ton of actors that you really admire, um, and yeah, it sort of felt like walking a tightrope, where it brings an incredible amount of focus. So yeah, we had a great time. Yeah.
I was really amazed by the bad guy you played. So I want to know, how did it feel to play a pure villain? Was it harder than you would expect?
It was, I think it was more fun than I would expect in a way. There were definitely challenges, and, um, you know, he's very different from me, I would like to think. So getting into that mindset is definitely a process. And physically, there were many things I had to work on, but it was so much fun. By the time I got to set, it was it felt as though there were no rules. You could just there were no boundaries. It was very fun to play.
Mhm. And for Timothy, in this episode, Paul has to figure out his own path amongst all these different competing forces. So would you say it's more challenging this time for you on the performance level compared to the first one?
Well, I think Paul has more to do this time. He's put through more. I think the first film, at least the first act of the first film, is really about a young man living a royal lifestyle, behind walls of privilege. And through the course of this movie, let alone where it ends, I mean, he's a completely different person. So, yeah, the playing of that required more intensity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and how would you describe the collaboration with the director? This is my last question.
A dream. I think he's one of our favorite directors. Working, absolute dream.
Yeah, he's the best collaborator you could ever hope for because he has such a singular vision, and he treats everyone with kindness, and you feel so safe because he has such a clear vision of what he wants, but yet he's very open to ideas, and so the process of working with him, he just includes everybody in that process, but you're all held with his clarity of his own vision. So it's such a joy to get to work with Denis.
Congratulations on your film. And I don't want to say just which side I'm rooting for, but this is my House Atreides pin.
Oh yeah, that's the right pin. You chose the right side.
Wow. I feel like I should just leave.
Just kidding, just kidding. So my first question is for Timothy. Paul undergoes a significant transformation in Dune Part 2. So how did you approach portraying his evolution from a young nobleman to a leader and a warrior?
I love how you said it. He starts in a place of nobility, privilege, protected, and ultimately is thrust into an impossible circumstance, what he's faced with, but also the destiny he confronts. And I wanted to bring, the emotional intensity that would be felt by anyone going through that, and doubt and vulnerability in his love story with Chani, but also the tenacity by the end of the story to bring it all back home.
Definitely. And for Austin, how did you prepare mentally and emotionally to embody such a terrifying but iconic villain on the big screen? And did you draw inspiration from any other characters or sources?
I mean, a big inspiration for me was Dune Part 1, and knowing the world that I was going to be stepping into, and particularly Stellan Skarsgård's performance as the Baron, because that just sparked my imagination. What would it be like growing up with him as your father figure, with the Baron as your uncle? So it was getting into the mindset of growing up in that amount of brutality and violence, and vocally, Stellan's performance was very inspiring to me, and so once I started to find Fade's voice, it changes the rhythm of the way that you think and how you breathe, and so that ended up becoming also a key in, and there was the physicality. Timothy and I both were training individually for many months before we ever met, and so a lot of the training helped change me physically, I would say.
Yeah. So next question is for Timothy. Paul and Chani has a very complex relationship, and it's central to Dune Part 2. So can you talk about the dynamics of their relationship? How did it affect Paul's journey?
Well, I think he sees himself in Chani's gaze more than he does in any prophecy or destiny. So I think he feels safe and comfortable with her and the way she treats him, and treats him as an equal and not as a prophet nor as a threat. And that's very reassuring to him. So she's very important, instrumental in his journey. And at some point, those paths diverge, maybe.
So next question is for both of you. The fight scene between Paul and Fade Rasa is one of the most anticipated moments from Dune Part 2. What was it like to film that scene together?
It was exhilarating.
It was
Yeah, it was cathartic.
Yeah, like I say, we trained individually for so long, and the first day that Timothy and I met, we basically shook hands and immediately got into the fight. So we really bonded while exploring both of our characters through that moment of brutality. And I don't know, how amazing is he? It was so incredible to get to work with him. And he works so hard and so powerful, and it was a true joy to get to do that, and with all of our favorite actors surrounding us.
Watching.
We have these
The greats.
incredible titans around us. So what a moment.
What a moment.